Welcome to our four-part series on formative assessments in education. In part one of the series, we focused on the meaning of formative assessments, the importance of feedback in connection to learning, and how best to use them in the face-to-face classroom. In part two of this series, we focused on building relationships in connection to learning and how best to use them in the online classroom. Part 3 of 4, Formative Assessments and Language Learning. In part 3 of this series, we continue to look at their connection to learning and how best to use them in the language classroom. At the end of this video, you can sign up to receive our free guide on the types of assessments in education for building confidence in teaching and learning in the classroom. In part 4 of this series, we will continue to look at their connection to learning and how best to use them in the math classroom. In assessing language skills, how should teachers begin? There are 4 language skills students learn to master in their academic career: listening, speaking, reading, and writing. In creating assessments for these language skills, it's important that teachers keep in mind ways to assess all 4 language skills in one lesson. Passive versus active skills. In education, it is common that language skills building begins with passive skills and then transitions to the active skills. Passive skills are ones in which the learner does not need to produce language just to receive and understand the language. Active skills, as the name implies, is when the learner produces language in order for others to receive and understand the language. Reading and listening are our passive skills. Speaking and writing are our active skills. Building language skills. Listening is the first passive skill that we work on when we are building our skills from an early age. Assessments in the classroom need to strengthen the listening skills of students. For example, this can be done by asking students to follow directions and to demonstrate what they heard. Then the teacher assesses through observations which students were able to demonstrate what they heard correctly. Speaking is the first active skill students need to build on as they continue to master their listening skills. For example, the teacher can ask for students to repeat back the directions given, comment on the directions given, or ask any questions they have as to the directions that were given. Reading is the second passive skill that builds on having students continue to master speaking, since now learners relate sounds to words, and so they are able to understand words as they pronounce or listen to them being pronounced. Writing is the second active skill and the last skill to be mastered, as it builds on all 3 of the previous skills. This active skill is generally the hardest skill for students to master, as it requires more knowledge than the previous skills in building understanding through communication. A fun and challenging exercise teachers can do with students to assess both passive and active skills is to divide the students into 2 groups and ask one group to give directions to build a recipe or to build an object, and have the other group use their passive skills to assess how well the directions were given to accomplish this task. For more information related to language development, click in the top right corner to visit our video on language development in the classroom. For more educational videos on teaching and learning, please remember to like, share, and subscribe to Education Recipes for Learning. And until next time, keep learning and have fun. Thanks for watching.